Alright guys, it's me, the Tycoon, coming back to you with another review. And this is of 76587 Unification. So let's get into this. This I found on YouTube, and it's a short film that was there to mark the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Generations, the movie that was an event because it brought Captain Jean-Luc Picard face to face with Captain James T. Kirk. And it was, for me, a highly enjoyable movie. And it was an event because I'm a Trekkie, you know. It was done so magnificently. And this is a short film that's also done just as magnificently. Virtually no dialogue. But what they've done, as William Shatner was one of the executive producers of this movie, he lent his face to Sam Witwer, who played Kirk during all three stages of Kirk's life within the Star Trek series, the original series, the movies, all the way to his final send-off. As well as you've had Lawrence Selleck play Spock. Both actors had their faces imposed, would be the best way to put it. William Shatner's face was imposed onto Sam Witwer, and Leonard Nimoy's face was imposed onto Lawrence Selleck's face. You also see a return of Saavik, played by Robin Curtis, who was in, I think, episode 3 and episode 4 of the movies. And wow, it was great seeing her again after so long. No one actually saw the her end until we're here, would be the best way of putting it. So let's get into this. So this is set after the events of Generations, and spoiler alert for if you haven't seen Generations, James T. Kirk comes back to life and dies at the end, while trying to prevent a catastrophe from taking place. And that's what happens. So this takes place at his time of his death. You also see Spock feel something has happened, and he can't shake the feeling, but he knows that dread has happened. And that's because of the mutual bond that they shared through their lives as comrades, captain, scientific officer, that kind of thing. Best friends and brothers right the way through, So it's virtually no dialogue, but what you see is Kirk going through the afterlife. He's walking through each stage of his life, and you see him in the original series where he meets up with his original series counterpart. You see him in the movies when he's an admiral, and of course when he's retired. His final stage, which was when he had died. And all of that, you see the glimpses and the narration that goes with it. Like I said, it's virtually no dialogue because it's set in the afterlife. Spock himself is living out his years, retired as whatever he's done, ambassador now. And during the stages that Kirk is going through, he then ends up in a garden, which is clearly paradise, where he's met by all the people that he saved along the way, and his crew, including Sarek, or is it Saavik? One or the other. And it's really emotional. It is really, really emotional what was going on here. Because if you've been like me, you've grown up with these characters, and you know these characters inside out. So when you're seeing the finale, the finality, I think that's the right way of putting it, the final walk of James T. Kirk and going through all that history, the emotions, it's magnificent. And again, even death can't keep him away from his best pal, his brother, Spock. Because during Spock's final moments, you see Kirk come through and stay with Spock until the very end, holding his hand and making sure that he's not by himself. That is magnificent. And the thing about this is that it's taken place 30, we were seeing the short film come in 30 years after generations. And Star Trek has taken a massive beating in as a franchise since Alex Kurtzman took over. Yes, I get it. There's been some great stuff on Star Trek, and they've gone through different places and different crews to expand the universe. One of the best ideas of that was Lower Decks. As an animated comedy series, it showed that there was humor. It showed that not everything takes place on the brig. Not everything takes place on the bridge or in engineering. There is a group of people out there that do keep things functioning as well, that aren't your day-to-day people, and that was nice. And I enjoyed that. But clearly, something has gone wrong with Star Trek, and a lot of that was down to Alex Kurtzman's misguided writers, would be the best way of putting it, and how they destroyed Discovery. Because Discovery itself has now been pulled out from Star Trek canon. And whether you loved the series or hated it, I think it's fair to say it had to be done. Clearly there's different characters that people are focusing more on, and there's different stories that can be told. Because again, my favorite series for me, having watched the original series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, even Enterprise, my favorite was still Deep Space Nine. It was a magnificent series because it completely changed everything. And the thing about what Alex Kurtzman has done as a producer with New Star Trek was to bring about a lot of the modern audiences, as the critical drinker would say, try to cater for them. And to a certain degree, okay, you're bold in going where no man's gone before, blah, 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 and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But what you've done it at is the expense of good stories. You've done it at the expense of, wait a minute, that shouldn't be happening here. Like, there was an episode in Discovery, you catch it, you miss it, you blink, you missed it, where they had a guy in a wheelchair, strolling past in a starship. The technology should be so advanced that there shouldn't be a need for a wheelchair. That kind of thing. This is where if you want to bring in silliness like that, you missed the point. And the thing with Kurtzman is that the refined things are not there. So what they would have done with Spock and James T. Kirk, they would have made the relationship to be a gay one, as opposed to being one of mutual respect, one of love between two brothers that have fought against multiple different adversaries and obstacles along the way, and had that mutual bonding as brothers. If for those who have been within the armed forces, they will know that. They will know that what that is. If you've been in the martial arts world and you've fought side by side with people, you know that that's the case. There's nothing gay there. It's just something where it's not toxic based, it's not masculinity, it's not this, it's not that. What it is fraternity. And that's what's always been missing with modern day Star Trek. And again, Star Trek has its hits and misses. Even James T. Kirk's Star Trek had some hits and misses, but it had more hits. This is what led things through. And this is such a beautiful send-off to James T. Kirk, to Spock, to everyone. And, the only other one that's repeated this was the very last episode of season 3 of Picard, where they really did give a send-off to everyone as well. With that being said, guys, thank you for being with me on this one. But whichever platform you're watching this on, leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think in those comments. And if you guys don't know how to do that, then you'll need to go back to school. So says the TYCOON.